Welcome to the Life in Red podcast. This is a way of life that emphasizes positive sexuality, self-love, and confidence. On this journey, red is now your new color. Be courageous. Be passionate. Be sexy. And never stop living your best red life. So now I have one question for you. Are you ready to live your life in red? To join us on this journey, like and subscribe below.
This is a campaign right now, Jennifer. Let's start it. A campaign to get off potential antidepressants, guys. Just bang.
Right? Seriously.
Just bang. Yeah, it'll just rewire the nervous system. Bang.
We're joking about it, but it's so true. I remember a couple after my office, and they'd come in and they haven't touched each other in years. Literally, a married couple haven't touched each other in 2 years.
Yeah.
And the way I do my work after a session, I always like to leave whoever I'm working with a challenge, right? Here's your challenge for the week, something to think about, something to work on, something to read, whatever the case may be. And in those situations, okay, you go home and have some sex. Like, it's going to be awkward. It's going to be weird. It's going to be just to do it, but do it. Rip the Band-Aid off. Get that first time done. 2 weeks later, they walk into my office and they're holding hands and they sit beside each other and the body language
and they're glowing.
Different. I'm like, you had sex and how you doing? So much of that tension, so much of that, perceived rejection, so much of that isolation is gone. And for
you bonded.
And for the woman, it's that sense of acceptance, that sense of feeling beautiful again, that sense of feeling desired and wanted again.
Yes.
Right? That idea that, this part of me can be honored. This part of me, I can take space for it. I can make space for it. And that's
great. Well, in going to women and knowing myself, like, I have the type, like, if I get in an argument with my partner or any of those things, my go-to is I want to have sex. That's just where I go to. And I find that it's very interesting because it's like those hormones do relax you. I do feel reconnected, rebonded, and all those things. But also, if I'm not having sex on a regular basis, I do end up going to these places of not feeling that connection, not feeling bonded, not feeling, all those things. And it's so intense that is this a biological thing that women have?
Not every woman does, but yeah, it can.
Okay.
So it sounds like maybe one of your love languages is physical touch. That's how you receive it.
Physical touch.
But for women, sex is very much an emotional experience, right? Especially if we're talking about, let's say 40s and older, so to speak, even mid older. There's still that need to have some sort of emotional fulfillment present. I should say, especially if you're in a committed relationship, right? So he doesn't talk to me, he doesn't listen to me, he doesn't value me. I'm not going to go and have sex with him because I don't feel important. I don't feel seen. I don't feel like this is somebody who's going to value me and honor me, right? So that piece sometimes still is very much present. Sometimes when I'm talking to couples and working with them, it's the idea of like, okay, thank her for making you dinner, thank her for everything she does around the house. Ask her about her work day. Ask her how she's feeling. If you want to be sexually connected with your partner, that emotional need does need to be fulfilled a lot of the time too. And there's nothing wrong with that either. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't mean that some women need the emotional foreplay, let's call it. It doesn't mean that they're wrong and the women who just want to have sex are right, or vice versa. It means that on this spectrum of sexuality, of female sexuality, we need to make space and we need to give permissions for all areas to exist. For some women, it is going to be emotional. I need my husband or my partner or my boyfriend to tell me I'm beautiful, to value me, to appreciate me. And in his words, I get sexual arousal, therefore I'll perform sexually because I want to. And for some women, I don't care. Just pull your pants down and give me what I'm looking for because it's a raw sexual need. both can be true for females. And just because one woman expresses it one way and one the other doesn't devalue who she is as a woman, nor does it define who she is as a woman.
No, and I noticed you did say an interesting bit there that a certain age group, the emotional aspect of sex exists more. Does that have to do with constructs?
I think it
of those.
Go ahead.
No, of those eras, like religious constructs, the boomer age, and different things like that.
Yeah, I think it might, but I think it's also. I think there's an aspect of the longevity of the relationship as well, right? We know it's harder to keep that sexual fire going in a long-term relationship because a lot of those initial sparks, a lot of those initial pheromones aren't present anymore after a certain period of time.
Right.
So those aspects are fulfilled in different ways, right? So, and life changes and we change and circumstances change as well, right? And I think that commitment piece plays a role as well. But I think social construct for sure. I think that, the whole concept, when you grow up thinking or being told that, sex is something you do when you both love each other. Well, if I don't feel love, I'm not going to have sex, right? So I think that's as well. And I think one of the understanding that, this is a whole other show.
I know. I just heard you say so. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Sorry. I was like, taking a segue.
But understanding, I think at the end of the day, bringing it back to female sexuality, that, what drives female sexuality and how it's projected and how it's displayed can vary in so many ways. And the acceptance of those differences needs to be right, because that's the reality of female sexuality.
Well, I think that's beautiful. And I like how you're keeping it open and leaving a gray area because we are women. I feel we're fluid. We change. Oh, yeah. There's sometimes I'm an animal and I just want to bang. And there's sometimes I do want the emotional connection and that more spiritual connection. So it's we fluctuate. We're fluid. So I wanted to get into something you wrote me yesterday, that the role pornography plays in female sexuality and how typically and historically women were taken by men in pornography. Images in Playboy were all aimed towards what men fantasize about and images that are suited to women being young and submissive. Could we dive into this?
Yeah. So after our conversation yesterday, when we were talking about the show and what we were going to talk about, I was about to start a session and this just kind of popped into my head. And I remember I was back in my undergrad and I took a course on pornography and the role society has played over the years in pornography. So this whole course for this whole semester was watching pornography and dissecting the different roles of men and female and social constructs in that time period of the pornography was made. So ultimately what came to mind was this idea that traditionally pornography is very much made for men's viewing pleasure.
Right.
You look at someone like Ron Jeremy. He is like pornographic.
Swing.
But he is not an overly handsome man.
No,
no
not
offense,
at all.
Ron Jeremy. Not.
No, you are hung like a horse. Good for you.
But it's not about that image of seduction for a woman. But every woman he is with is pleasing a man's visual stimulation. Right.
She objectively is that Pam Ann
objective
kind of woman.
Yes. And then you look at the acts in pornography. You look at Playboy, that young girl with the jersey shirt on or the sports jacket on or the, flag bikini or in her little pigtails and her cheerleader outfit. That is all to please the eyes of men. And yes, I know Playboy is made for men and I understand that. But it's that idea of female sexuality being for the purpose, serving the purpose.
I see where you're going with this. The objective of sexuality has been all around pleasing men. It hasn't been, so it's always been the cause and effect in that way.
Correct.
Versus portraying it as an equal opportunity.
Correct.
And both people receiving and wanting pleasure.
Absolutely. And both people who are in those pornographic movies being appealing universally, so to speak. Right? Like you said, that kind of construct of generally speaking, she is an attractive woman. But you look at men in pornography and what they're doing and their role, and it's not about being seductive and appealing to women watching pornography, because traditionally women didn't watch pornography. Right. The idea of women watching pornography and openly saying, I'm going to watch pornography and masturbate is still, in today's world, I would argue, a concept that is very, very odd and may have feedback on that isn't positive.
It is. And let's write a character. Like you have your girl on the jersey with the pigtails, walks in the set, like here she is. We already know her. She's been around forever. But we have, like, what are we going? Fabio, like, because Fabio kind of was.
Oh, he was for
the first. He was kind of the female. He wanted to get in touch with her feelings.
Yeah.
And understand. And we do have porn now that are created centered finally for females, more story, detail oriented, which it's finally turning around.
Right. And what would be considered more, I guess, maybe soft porn. Right. So there's a bit more to it. But even the image, right? Like maybe the image is somebody who, see, and again, sexual appetites are different. For some women, it's like that strong, maybe that construction worker that comes home from work all dirty and strong and, greasy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the suit and the briefcase and, that powerhouse image either way. But I think it's just the idea that, when you look at pornography traditionally, I'm not talking about, everything, and I'm try not to make a blanket statement here, but traditionally it was set up to fulfill men's sexual pleasures. It wasn't about female.
Yeah. And our pleasures, our fantasies.
Right.
And they are quite different.
And even in the pornography, it's the woman being taken. Something is being done to her. And she is, serving the purpose to please him.
Yes. Right. And I think, speaking on behalf of myself, not saying I'm not quite like everyone, definitely will admit that. But I find, like, in my own fantasies, a lot of times I'm dominating. Like, maybe let's say another female. Wouldn't you be so lucky out there? No, I'm joking. But no, but I just mean it's more, I'm active in the deciding roles of what's going on. I'm very active. I'm a lead in that play.
Right.
But then I am open to receiving at different times, but there's a receiving and giving as a woman that I enjoy. It's not just receptivity or BJs or whatever.
Right. I think a lot of that, like you said, that word fluid, right? That changes. We do find women in very powerful positions, right? So let's say she's the CEO of a company, or, she runs a hospital wing, or whatever the case may be. Those women tend to have an element within them that wants to be dominated in the bedroom. I don't want to make decisions.
That makes sense.
I don't want to be in control. I just want to let loose, and I want to just enjoy this without being the person to make the choices. So I'm choosing to be in that more dominant role. But then maybe she switches another day. Maybe she wants to control because she's on this high from this meeting she's had. The ultimate message is that it comes and goes and it changes, and that's okay. The permanency attached to female sexuality, or cementing it as it has to look one way, is something we're trying to move away from.
Yes. And that's what's beautiful is, as a society, we want to put everything in a box to feel safe. Everything needs to be in a box, whether it be identity labels, whether it be, what is your sexuality? What does that look like, woman? What is it? It's time to decide now. Now they're making children decide,
which is
a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you? Are you gay? Are you straight? Are you cisgender? Like, what do you identify as? It's all this pressure to pick which cool kids club you fit in.
Right.
And even with sexuality, it's like feminine energy, in my opinion, is fluid. You fit what feels right. And it can be different for each of you.
Absolutely. And there's nothing, and that's there's no right or wrong when it comes to it. And I hope that's the message that the people that are listening take from this, is that we used to live in a world where women were told, this is who you are, this is what your sexuality looks like, and this is actually who it belongs to, and this is how you use it. And we're trying to move away from that and make it so that women are able to say, actually, this is how I feel, and this is who I am, and this is where my appetite lies. And you know what? That may change in the next decade of my life. And it may come.
Yeah. And that's okay.
That's okay. Right. So empowering women to really talk about their own sexuality, even if the conversation starts within themselves. Right. So many women are still so blocked by this conversation of sex that it's a little bit concerning, in the sense that how do we teach our daughters? How do we give them that permission to explore their bodies as they get older and explore their sexuality if we are so hung up on it?
Yes. Yeah, we're worried. I mean, obviously there's the fears of protection. We have consent, we have STIs. There's all the things. And I'm a mother of 2 girls. Like, of course, those things are there. I teach them about that. But it's like, if you repress someone's animal, you repress the animal within them, it does not go well. It's because you will have to go balance there, or it will come out in destructive ways oftentimes.
Right.
And I'm going to cut right here really quick. I didn't plug in my laptop. Sorry. Boop. You ladies ready for your sexual liberation? It's time for a revolution. Here we go.
So there's one other thing.
Go ahead.
The idea of repression, right? You talked about growing up in a very religious family, and we talk about these women who grow up in a very, very religious environments who are told, this is your sexuality. And I like the point you just made about, the repression then leads to what can be very dangerous behaviors, or it can be, they can come out in ways that can be questionable or harmful. And I think for a lot of society, a lot of women, it's the understanding that if we talk about this and we normalize female sexuality, then we actually reduce the harm. We reduce the risk of harm.
Yes.
Because we're not making it a forbidden fruit, right? We're making it something that, these young girls are going to experience. And we teach them how to do it safely. We teach them how to have that autonomy and that power to say yes and say no and mean no and protect themselves. And why shouldn't women walk around with condoms in their purse? Why shouldn't they demand protection during the act? Why should it all be something that someone else is responsible for? So I think there's power in talking about it rather than the opposite. If we talk about they're going to do it, they're going to do it anyway. Let's be 100% honest.
They are. And you're just, with the shame element, it could be harmful.
It could.
And this is what I noticed being more open about talking about sex with like male counterparts. I've noticed that because of the societal stigma, immediately, because I'm open saying I have a show that's on sexuality, immediately that means that I'm promiscuous. Yes. Immediately that means, and it's like, it's a downfall. And it's like, and I know I live in the South, and that's a huge influence there, but it's like, oh, this is going to be easy. She talks about sex, so that must mean that anyone could get with her. It's like, no.
And it's hilarious to say that because, so I've been married for 20 years. I've been with him for 24 years. And he's it. But I still do what I do, and I still talk about sex, and I still have my views and my opinions and my beliefs. And I remember talking to somebody who was exploring, alternative sexual lifestyles, right? Again, you do you. There's literally and genuinely no judgment. You do what fits you. But that's not for me.
Right.
And the comment I received was, I thought because you're a sex therapist and you talk about sex so openly, you wouldn't be such a prude. And I'm like, hold on a minute.
Oh, now there's monogamy shame.
Right. So I'm like,
come
okay,
on.
Because I'm in an exclusive monogamous relationship and I don't have interest in changing that status, I'm a prude. That's a huge assumption.
So you're straight and you're not gay, that makes you a prude.
Right. Or the idea
like that's what I'm saying.
An open relationship or whatever the case may be. But those are all parts of those shame elements, right? Because you're like, okay, hold on a minute. Why would I be a prude? Like you're assuming that every woman in a monogamous long-term relationship has sex a certain way and is a certain sexual being. That's a huge assumption. And that's very, very closed off in terms of female sexuality. Why can't it be women in long-term committed relationships are crazy, ravishing animals in the sack? Why can't they be?
Yeah.
How do you know? You don't.
I mean, there is a misconception coming into this progressive world of poly and swinging and all this, because it is coming out of the closet. No more pineapples hiding and all these things. Because of that, if I choose monogamy, I've even felt it. I choose monogamy myself at this point. And because of that, there is almost a thing like, a fear maybe they think I'm judging them or I'm under the religious structures. It's like, no, that's just where I feel safe and that's where I want to be.
Right.
And I don't care what you do. I'd love to hear about it. I find it fascinating.
Right. But the idea that a monogamous couple or a female who's monogamous can't be adventurous.
Yes.
How do you know what we're doing in the bedroom? You have no idea if there's whips and chains hanging in my bedroom or if there's
That's what I'm saying. You could be so adventurous in monogamy.
Whatever makes you feel safe in whatever element of relationship that fits you. So that shame aspect around female sexuality, it's actually quite broad. And it's applied or projected maybe in different realms, right? So when you say that, she talks about sex, she's an easy target. I think there's still a struggle in our society to conceptualize or to, marry the concepts of I'm open to talk about it. I have no shame around my sex, but I don't want to have wild sex with everybody I see. Right? The two are not equivalent.
Yeah. It was like a plague of assumptions of being promiscuous. I mean, everywhere there was that was it. Animal on, can't get to know on a deeper level at all, like because of being open and discussing this thing. And I just found it seems to, I know it was because it's like the South, but I also find it just like, I'm glad I'm here today with you talking about this because it's just not, if that's where someone goes in their mind instantly, then no wonder women don't feel safe.
Right.
Like
where is the permission? Where is the space to be able to talk about
the space
without you being vulgar? Right. That vulgar is applied to women who talk about sex all the time. Oh, she's vulgar, not ladylike. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not true about me at all.
I've gotten that so much.
I don't relate to
you are not ladylike.
I don't relate to being vulgar. I can be ladylike when I choose to, but why do I have to be one thing? And why does my sexuality have to define that one thing that I am?
Well, and also, I mean, don't get me started on definitions and perception and constructs and who decided what ladylike was. I sure as hell don't believe it was a lady.
No.
Like, probably not. So, and even if it was, whatever, your definition, this is the whole point, your definition of what ladylike is for your family in Calgary, that is what ladylike is for you.
Absolutely.
And you want to talk about chubs and you want to talk about anal sex, that's ladylike as hell to me. You're in good company. Same with me. So this has been quite interesting. And the last point I really would love to get into is that women and their sexuality, it feels like self-acceptance. This beautiful thing of self-acceptance that I'm just now really inviting into my healing world. that is so powerful. I don't know if you could go into self-acceptance and exploring your sexuality a little bit.
I think that statement is quite true. I think they do go hand in hand to a certain degree, right? When you accept yourself, whether it be physically, emotionally, your personality, your quirks, your flaws, you're beautiful, you're all of those things, all of your parts, then you can truly accept your sexuality and you can truly explore yourself as a sexual being, right? When there's shame in who you are, whether that's because you don't fit cultural norms, whether that's because you don't adhere to your family's chosen religion, whether it's because your body size or your shape or whatever the case may be, we can't allow ourselves as women to fully fall into exploring ourselves sexually when we haven't accepted who we are and accepted ourselves as our true beauty, right? I don't care what anyone says. There's beauty in women. Women are beautiful, beautiful creatures. And I don't think a certain size is beautiful. When you truly look objectively at women, they're beautiful, from like their smiles to their eyes to their curves and their skin. Like I get it. Women are beautiful, beautiful creatures. When you can see beauty within yourself, when you allow yourself to define your beauty and not take your beauty from what other people tell you it should be, then you find peace within yourself. And within that peace, you're releasing a lot of hangups. You're releasing a lot of insecurities. And then you're able to explore yourself sexually. Then you're able to say, it's okay to give myself an orgasm. It's okay to be up to myself tonight. That is okay. It is okay to make my...
And your orgasms?
They're yours.
Sorry.
They're yours, right? Your orgasms are yours.
Exactly.
Right? So it actually...
They are. And self-acceptance opens the door.
It does.
So much to potential orgasms.
And women don't recognize and realize how much of a female's ability to have orgasm is actually in their mind. Right? Physically, most women can't achieve orgasm through penile penetration. It's a really difficult thing to do. You can get there eventually, but it's not a given for every female, because not everyone's body is made the same.
Right.
Our reproductive organs are not all the same size, they're not positioned exactly the same way. And that impacts your ability to have a penile penetration orgasm or an internal orgasm. An orgasm through clitoral stimulation. However, you can, lick that thing 1,000 times. If you're locked in your brain with shame and guilt and hatred for yourself, she's not going to respond.
Yeah.
She's not going to.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
If you can work on that self-acceptance and you can release the shame and self-loathing, and you then explore your areas, then the response is positive.
Yes.
So
yes,
there is
for sure.
an element of acceptance. And a lot of the work I do with women is that piece of, it's okay to be who you are. You are enough. If you feel, what is your truth about yourself? Never mind what people tell you about yourself. What do you feel to be true? And through that level of acceptance, then there's that element of, okay, now let's explore this part of you.
Yeah. It's like almost if we could lock that part of our brain that's looking for acceptance outside of ourselves. If that's just a boundary, a 10 commandment, a non-negotiable that we have with ourselves is, honey badger, don't care. It's not about that. Ever again, it's not about what you think of me. It's 100% about what I think of me. And it's like, because if I feel good, I look in the mirror, I turn me on, I marry myself. It's like, whether you find me attractive or not, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter anymore. Because I find me attractive.
Exactly. And I see my value, right? It comes down to value, that worth, right? How many women can truly turn to themselves in the mirror and say, I deserve a great orgasm. I'm worth.
Oh, that's beautiful. There needs to be a t-shirt. I deserve a great orgasm.
But if you believe it to be true, you will put the wheels in motions to achieve it. Whether it's with yourself, whether it's opening the lines of communication with your partner, whatever means you want to explore it. But so many women are like, well, that's too much. I can't. As long as he gets off. Why?
I was so like that for years. I found so much pleasure in my partner's pleasure because I gave up thinking I was broken. Like I was just not going to be able to, because I was be in my head too much about my body, the way I looked, worried about what he thought. So when he got off, that was the only pleasure I received from sex ever. The physical touch was nice, but I never was open to that. So it's really crazy how the tables turn when you do the things that you're saying, because it is a completely different experience. I like it now. Like for me.
And as a result, ladies, when you like it for you, it gets better for the us.
Yes, for the us, it gets so much better.
Yes, and then there's a whole other realm of whatever the connection you're looking for, whether it be emotional, physical, sexual, or spiritual. But when you get out of your own head and you hang up your insecurities rather than take them into the room with you, it opens a whole door, a whole world of female sexuality. So I think, if anyone's listening out there that struggles with this and that is ashamed and has guilt, I do encourage you to get onto Psychology Today, find a therapist that you can trust and talk to, and start your journey and learning about your own sexuality so that you're able to define it in a way that fits you and honors you.
Yes. And I know it can feel unsafe out there too. Whether it be your financial situation, you can't get help, whatever it is, but even like get a therapist, find someone. And if you can't do that, the next option is reach out through email to people speaking out, and there will be resources. There's always help out there for you. You are not alone.
You are not alone. And there are some great, even books out there that you can start to read. Emily, I might say her last name wrong. Is it Nagaki?
Come As You Are.
Come As You Are. Like that is a fantastic book for women to start reading, and just understanding their bodies and understanding how their sexual organs work and why they are the way they are to a certain degree. Why is it that, when he gets home from work and he smells a certain way, oh my God, I want to take him right now. But like when he's touching me, I feel nothing. Well, there's a reason behind that. You're not broken. So many women think they're broken. What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. You just don't know how you work yet. Figure that out.
That's all it is. You got to figure out your gas pedal. When your foot goes on what gets the foot on the gas pedal.
And it's so true, and it's so relatable.
Yes, it is. Well, Jennifer, how can people look up your work, find you? I understand that you're in Canada and there are laws around that. But if someone wanted to look you up, read about you yourself.
I don't have a lot of social media presence. I really don't. I do keep myself quite closed off that way. I do have a Psychology Today profile. You can find me there. I actually don't have a website, believe it or not, even though I've been in practice for 11 years.
It's fine. They're obsolete now anyway.
I've never ever had one. So that Psychology Today is really the only way. If everyone there are laws around it, right? I am licensed and registered in Canada, but we can't cross over the border in terms of...
Sorry, Americans.
Sorry. But, if I receive an email, I will respond. So there's always that avenue.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. And I will make sure to put your contact in the below area, because we do have a lot of Canadian listeners. We have a lot of sex therapists in that region. And so I will put that for you guys, because I know that you all deserve someone who knows what they're talking about and you can feel safe with to explore these things. Women, let's not swing. This is my last words. Let's not swing the pendulum, though. Let's not swing this other way where we bash and we hate, the patriarchy and all these things. Let's come together as women, as individuals, and now be activists for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so thank you, Jennifer, for being on today. And you guys keep it red, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining the Life in Red today, where we embrace passion, confidence, and positive sexuality. Keep painting your journey in bold red strokes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us so that you never miss out on living your best red life. Ready for more? Stay passionate, stay red. See you next episode.